What's up, guys? It's Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down how to get a faster release off the line of scrimmage. So we're going to be talking about 3 different releases, 3 quick tips that you guys can do to get a faster release, to be more explosive off the ball, and ultimately be able to get more separation. So I hope this video gives you guys some value, but also, fellas, if you guys want a step-by-step technique manual on how to improve your game, the entire wide receiver position from catching all the way to blocking, check out that very first link in the description for our wide receiver Bible. It's a step-by-step document where we talk about every single thing, every single aspect, step-by-step, broken down of the wide receiver position, all the technique that I teach, all the coaching points that I have. So check out that very first link in the description if you want this manual. Hope we get you guys on that soon. We'll give you a lot of value. Let's get started. So this first release here we're looking at is from Waddle, right? So Jaylen Waddle making this explosive step, but we're mainly going to be focusing on this very first step that he takes, right? And a lot of people consider this a false step, right? But I'm going to tell you why that's wrong. It's not necessarily a false step. It's not necessarily making him lose any explosion. If anything, it's giving him more balance so he can actually explode and step outside of this DB's frame. That's the goal. Okay, so now watch what he does with this front leg. This is something that a lot of guys, I teach with a lot of my receivers. Sometimes I teach moving this back foot. You guys have probably seen that like kick step behind. Amari Cooper likes to do that a lot. Jerry Jeudy does that sometimes. But you see what his first step does? You see how he kind of just takes that little step back, right? Now that little step back, all that serves to do, it's not a false step. It serves to create explosion because that first step allows him to push. And you see how he pushes into this first cut and he really throws and steps wide outside of the DB's frame. This is something that, because this is like essentially a wide step, right? So it's like, bam, just one wide step. He could break off of this on a slant. He could break off of this push vertical, run a dig, post, stop route, curl route, whatever it might be with this specific release because it's one step, it's fast, and we're able to step outside the DB's frame, and you see how much that's able to get him to move. And what's he watching? He's watching the hips. He's doing a pretty good job of staying disciplined and watching those hips. So I got to make sure that I throw my hip. And the only way I'm able to do that, the only way I'm able to create explosion off that line is with that first step. What a lot of receivers will try to do is they'll just step with the back leg and this front leg will stay flat. They'll just sit there, front leg will stay flat. They'll step wide and it's nice and slow. It doesn't go outside of his frame. There's no explosion. There's no suddenness to it, which doesn't force a reaction out of this DB. I got to really focus on using this step to A, push me, but also it helps you come to balance. That allows you to be balanced in just one step. I take that little false, not necessarily false step. I call it a power step. I know there's probably other names for it. I know sure coaches use other names for that type of a move, or necessarily not a move, but like a step. I know some people say something different, but I call it a power step, so that's how I'm going to refer to it. That little power step that you take to give yourself that balance allows you to push, and it allows you to actually throw, and that's the goal. That's the goal anytime off the line of scrimmage on a release. We don't want to step down the middle of his frame. We want to step to the right lane, then you got the left lane. So it's like you're driving. You got the middle lane, which is the DB. Right lane is where we want to step in this case, or the left lane in some other cases, okay? So let's watch Stig full speed one more time. Great job by Waddle, forcing that suddenness and really being able to explode to move this DB off that platform, okay? So now we're going to be looking at this move here from Elijah Moore. So kind of the same concept here, okay? So again, very explosive, very twitchy guys, right? So you look at Waddle, one of the fastest dudes in the draft this year. This is Elijah Moore, again, one of the fastest dudes in the draft this year. Then we're going to take a look at one more clip right after this with another quick receiver who really gets some explosion off of this move, okay? So now, let's watch Think full speed. So you see how he takes a little step back, gives one jab to the inside, or gives kind of a double move. When we slow it down, it's more of a double move, but it looks like a one jab. But watch this first step. You see how it takes like a little step back. That brings him to balance right there, but that also gives him that explosion and that twitchiness to where he could actually use that first move to explode. Because if he just comes out the line of scrimmage right here and just tries to go left then right, if he just is flat-footed and he goes left, right, that's not going to get anybody. That's not going to get him any explosion, right? So we don't want to just step there and stay flat-footed. We want to get some twitch to that first step so that can explode you. It's a different story. Like if this DB right here is 8 to 10 yards off and he's in zone, yeah, that might be considered a false step. That would be considered a false step because you're not going forward. But when you're working a press release, you got to be able to create some energy. You got to be able to create some explosion. And that little step isn't going to screw up anything. In this case, because he's pressed, he's watching those hips. He's going to try to shoot hands. He's going to try to get physical and knock you off the timing of the route as it is. Because those steps that you're taking on the release, this double up, hesitation, slide, whatever it is, that takes extra time too. But it's not zone coverage. It's not off man where you got to get there right now when the DB's off. Trust me, the quarterback understands that we got to get off this thing. He understands that I got to get off I got to get off this press, and he might be getting a little bit of pressure, might have to buy a little bit of time because man coverage, but he understands that. It's not like it needs it to be just bam, right there, right now. It's 2 steps, you're out of it, right? It doesn't need to be like that. You can still take that first little prep step, that power step, to give you that explosion and give you that twitchiness, because you see how quick that first step is and how aggressive that second step is, right? So it's just pop, 1, 2. And you see how much he's able to throw to the inside. He doesn't just step there. He doesn't just line up, go left, then he really throws to the right. Nobody can do that, right? You got to be able to create explosion, and that first step creates so much explosion for you to where you're able to throw, to where you're able to actually move this DB off that platform a little bit, get him flat-footed, and then I can burst up into this route and pretty much do whatever we want with him when I have that explosion and he's playing catch-up. When he's trying to catch up to you, when he's trying to react off of you, and you have explosion, you have twitch, you're getting out of breaks fast, that's what gets you as much separation as possible, okay? Let's watch the thing again, full speed. Great example here of Elijah Moore using that little prep, that power step, right? So that power step throws the 1, 2, breaks this thing off, and then we're out of there. And again, that looks so fast that you can't even tell that first step. If we were just watching this over and over again, full speed, like I know a lot of people say, like, oh, well, this guy talks too much. He needs to play the clip. It's like, I really could give a shit, but to be honest, you guys got to be able to see those certain steps because the game moves so fast, and you're not going to be able, on film, when you do those types of steps and you do these little details, that's what gets you space. Those little details matter. The devil's in the details, right? So it's very important that you understand how important each step is. You understand how important it is to give that quick little move to create that energy for you, because something so subtle like that can really allow you to throw and can really allow to give you that explosion because you come to balance. No, you shouldn't be able to see that step on film. If you're doing this and you see it on film and it's slow, that means it's too slow. That first step needs to be quicker. There's got to be some twitch to it, okay? So now we're going to look at this move here. This is from like a high school like All-American game, I believe, but this is a great release. And we're going to take a look at how this receiver does kind of the same thing, but he kind of does it as well with his back foot. So we see here how he kind of goes 1, 2, and he throws that 2-step or kind of a triple step release, I would say, but he does that little step right here to give him that explosion, right? And again, that's not a false step, especially when it's press. If somebody tells you that's a false step and don't do that, they don't know what they're talking about. If it's zone coverage and you're doing that, that's when it's a false step. That's when it's a problem. Because what are you doing that for? You got to actually push vertical. You got to actually get to your depth. So that's when it becomes an issue, right? But when I take this little step, that just creates explosion. It allows me to give that 1. So that first step is quick. I throw to the inside. I throw to the outside. And you see where he's stepping. It looks like he's stepping outside of this DB's frame because that's what's going to get him to move off that platform. And when I get him to move off that platform, that's when I get space, like we've been talking about this whole entire video. But it starts with that first step. That first step is subtle, it's quick, it creates that explosion, so I'm able to throw, step outside of the frame, step inside the frame, pretty much do whatever I want with him because I have that balance and I have that explosion. Let's watch the thing again, full speed one more time. These are 3 things, three examples of the same technique used that can get you some more separation and get you a faster release. Watch it again, full speed. So 1, 2, gives him that jab, then we push up vertical into this route. All right, guys, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions at all, feel free to leave those in the comments below. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. And also, fellas, step-by-step wide receiver technique Bible. Everything from route running to hands to catching to just overall releases, the step-by-step process of how you can improve all those areas and the key technical points to improve those areas. Hope we get you guys on that soon. Very first link in the description. I'll see you guys next time.